Hello, everyone. I am Ryan Clifton Bolin. Thank you for joining me. As you already know about the situation with Will Smith and Chris Rock, it was crazy, without a doubt. It was crazy. We all know that. By now you have heard it spun about 1,000 times. I mean, even the left the far radical left have gotten into this and tried to make it a race thing. But that's not what I'm going to talk about here. I'll probably talk about that a little later. But I want to read you just a small portion of an article from Breitbart News. It's clear, apparently, that Will Smith has apologized to Chris Rock for what he has done. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read that apology that he posted in Instagram. I'm going to read that apology. We're going to get right into our discussion here. I'm going to tell you what I think about all of this. So the title of this article is Will Smith Issues Apology for Unacceptable and Inexcusable Behavior at Oscars. Will Smith has publicly apologized to comedian Chris Rock for violently assaulting him during the Oscars telecast on Sunday night, denouncing his own behavior as unacceptable and inexcusable. In a statement posted to Instagram, Will Smith, who won the Oscar for his lead performance in King Richard, expressed regret for how his behavior overshadowed the event and apologized directly to Chris Rock. Now, here is apparently his Instagram posting. He says, "Violence in all its forms is poisonous and destructive. My behavior at last night's Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable. Jokes at my expense are part of the job. But a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear, and I reacted emotionally. I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line and I was wrong. I am embarrassed, and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be. There is no place for violence in a world of love and kindness." I don't know if it's a world of love and kindness, but I get it. "I would also like to apologize to the Academy, the producers of the show, all the attendees, and everyone watching around the world. I would like to apologize to the Williams family and my King Richard family. I deeply regret that my behavior has stained what has been an otherwise gorgeous journey for all of us. I am a work in progress. Sincerely, Will." And that's the end of that Instagram posting there. You can read the rest of that article in the description box below from Breitbart News, but let's just get right into it. As I know you've all have seen the clip on probably various other YouTube channels, perhaps on the news, whatever the case may be. It was wild. Now, my first reaction to seeing this was I felt that it was this by design. I felt that it was planned. I felt that it was fabricated. I was like, well, you know what? They're doing this because no one's watching the Oscars. So now the producers and whoever are desperate, and they have to do whatever they need to do to get viewers, because clearly everyone's talking about it. And in fact, I saw a post on Facebook that said, had not Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, I would not have even known that there was an Oscars. And so I find that interesting that individual will make that posting, because a lot of people didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about it. I had no idea that the Oscars was even around. I mean, I didn't even know there was, because I never watched the Oscars. Even before this debacle, I never watched the Oscars many years ago. I never watched it. I mean, I had no interest in it. It didn't interest me at all. I mean, who wants to watch that? I mean, anyway, no problem for anyone to watch it, but I just had no interest in it at all. So I didn't know what was going on until after this incident with Will Smith and Chris Rock. But my thing is that clearly this showed a lack of self-control. There's been a lot of debate about why he did what he did. One particular, I think it was Anthony Brown Logan, was watching his video and he made the statement that perhaps Will Smith struck Chris Rock because of something that Chris Rock said 6 years ago in reference to his wife. But the problem with that is that's 6 years ago. That sounds kind of petty to be holding something against this man for something he said jokingly about 6 years ago. You can't say this is something constant because it's 6 years ago, and I don't know any information about it ever happening prior to that or in between. The issue, what it seems to me, that it's clearly a lack of self-control on the part of Will Smith. Now, I personally have always liked Will Smith. He has come up a long way. A rapper, rapping this. I never really listened to his rap songs when he was coming out in the 80s, but he was a rapper and then he became an actor, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I mean, he was hilarious. He was funny. The show was a huge hit. Then he became this huge actor and he became one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood. I mean, the man has grown greatly. You know, I mean, he's a great actor. He's a great actor. Proof of the fact that he's about to he won an Oscar. You know, won an Oscar. So he's a great actor, and I commend him highly for that. But the situation that happened there was totally inexcusable. But I'm not holding that against Will Smith. I'm not holding it because it could happen to anyone. Any one of us could go off on a tantrum and respond out of rage and anger at this. But let me point something out real quick. As I began to think about this incident and this situation that happened, I began to start going back to my first thought of this is all planned. Now, I know that sounds conspiratorial, but I find it interesting that something like this would happen at a pretty dismal time in our country with this situation with Russia and Ukraine. First, it was the virus, and it was the mandating of the vaccine. That was the big thing. That was a huge thing. That was a big thing. That was what covered the news. Everybody was talking about it. You were sleeping. You go to sleep thinking about it. You dream about it. You wake up with nightmares about it. Then it was the mandate. Everybody was terrified about the mandate. Then the mainstream media was covering that. You need to be vaccinated. You know. And then, you know what I'm saying? And then now all of a sudden, we have a situation with Russia and Ukraine. Now the news is talking about, now the news was talking about Russia and Ukraine. That's the big thing on the news right now. Everybody's talking about it. Ukraine, we're for Ukraine. Everybody's talking about it. It's a big thing. Everybody's fearful that we might go to war. It might lead to World War III. Everybody's thinking about this. Everybody's talking about it because the media is talking about it. Then all of a sudden, this incident happens, and now it's everywhere, and it's almost to the point where no one seems to remember that we are on the precipice of a war. And what am I implying? I'm implying that it could be a distraction, right? Because while everybody is paying attention to what Will Smith did, nobody's paying attention to what they're doing in government when it comes to Russia and Ukraine, right? Because I was watching the clip and I think that President Biden, in some kind of a meeting, I can't remember what kind of meeting he was in, a press conference, said about a day or so ago, but said sometime, well, about a day ago, so yeah. Well, about a day ago, so you know, he said that, and it might have been a slip, but he implied that we may need to get rid of Putin. That's what he's basically implying, and I'm paraphrasing his words, but he was implying in so many ways in this press conference that they may need we don't need people like this, but he was implying we need to get rid of Putin. In other words, a regime change. Now, I find that interesting, right? A regime change. Now, if that's what he was saying, which in my opinion, I believe he was. I don't believe, Biden is known for his gaffes, but I don't believe that was a slip. I believe he purposely said that. I believe it was in the script, and that's exactly what I believe the plan is a regime change, to change over there so that they can continue to push globalism, push Russia out of the way, get someone else over there and take over. Maybe perhaps take over the gas, take over the gas areas over there. I don't know. But everybody's attention no longer is on there. Nobody's thinking about that now. Nobody's thinking about that. They're thinking about what Will Smith did. And it'll probably be the talk of town for another week, another 2 weeks. And then once that blows over, then the mainstream media is going to find something else to spend 1,000 years on. And everybody's going to think about what they're spending time talking about. So it goes from one subject to the next subject, to the next subject, to the next subject, to the next subject. And everybody's attention is on what the news say. A lot of times it's not whether or not the subject is newsworthy, it's whether or not the news talks about it a lot. Whatever the news talks about a lot, I'll give you a perfect example. And another perfect example, and I know this right here, I mean, it obviously was newsworthy, but then you got to think about it. When Michael Jackson passed, and what, thinking 2009, man, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing it on the news. I mean, and I'm not talking about it was on the news for like a few minutes. The whole news would be covering this for like, if it was 30 minutes, it was the news ran for 30 minutes with 30 minutes. You know what I mean? It was all, I mean, it was showing the funeral, it was showing all the people and everything. You know, whatever else was going on in society and going on in the country meant nothing. The greatest, perhaps the greatest pop star of all in all of history had passed. And it was utterly important that we cover everything that happened, the news figure. Everything said, everything that happened in the news figure. What is my point in that? I'm not saying that, you know, because I always loved Michael Jackson. I always will. But the news to cover that, you know, and expense of other things that are just as important, in fact, more important. I mean, great as he was, Michael Jackson wasn't putting any food on anybody's table or any of the viewers or fans' table. All he did was offer them entertainment. It wasn't like he was changing the course of their life. But the things that's going on in politics, the decisions that the politicians make, those are the decisions that's going to have an effect on your life and my life. And they would have had an effect on those people's life and anybody's life. But no one pays attention. Everyone's paying attention to what's going on in the news or whatever the news shows and focuses on. See, what the news focuses on is what the vast majority of people focus on. So could this be a distraction? In my opinion, I believe it's nothing more than a distraction. Even if it was real, let's assume that this wasn't planned and Will Smith actually went up there and did what he did impulsively, which now I am convinced that it probably, I won't say convinced, but now I am considering that it was real. Okay. Doesn't matter, right? Because the news is covering it left and right. That's the talk of the town right now. And while that's the talk of the town, other more important issues are going on in our country, such as Ukraine and Russia, and the possibility that we may have to go to war, and the possibility that it may lead to World War III, and the possibility that our young men and women are going to be out there in the fields fighting. And the banking families are going to be making millions and millions, perhaps billions of dollars off this war or possible war. See, what you don't focus on is what the people in government focuses on. They want you and I to focus on this. See, but whatever the reasons were, my prayers is out goes out to Will Smith. I've always admired him. I've always liked him. I hope things work out for him. As the article says, he did apologize to Chris Rock. Now, it's been argued he should have apologized to Chris Rock when he got up before the people had made that tearful confession before everybody else. It's like one of my coworkers was saying, I'm getting so sick and tired of seeing Will Smith crying. He always crying. Stop all that crying. It is true. He's always crying. He's a very emotional person. You can interpret that any way you want to, but it should have been that he should have apologized to Chris Rock up front and not in the Instagram post. But that can be argued. Whatever the case may be, it seems that he apologized, and if he did apologize up front, I didn't see the clip or the video. So, but whatever the case may be, what do you guys think about all of this? You think it's planned? You think it's a distraction? I think it's a distraction. I think that the mainstream media is being told focus on this situation with Will Smith and Chris Rock, even if it was a real situation, it wasn't planned. Keep all the focus on this, so that people won't focus on what's going on in the White House with Ukraine and Russia, and the possibility that we might have to go to war, and the possibility that, according to what Biden said out of his own mouth, that we may need, or implied out of his own mouth, a regime change in Russia. So what do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, share this video, and subscribe. God bless you all, and see you again.